Hello, teacher. Hello, students. Welcome to today's lesson on the severity of HIV/AIDS as a global pandemic. Last time, we were looking at the subject of protection and preservation of the environment. We talked about how environmental protection is important on an international level. We discussed the negative effects of pollution. We also learned about the importance of preserving and protecting cultural and historical heritage. People all over the world will benefit from having access to these heritages in the future. In today's lesson, we are going to focus on the subject of HIV/AIDS. This is a very serious topic. It will probably make us feel sad. However, it is important to remember that HIV/AIDS is preventable. This lesson is part of an important process of fighting against HIV/AIDS. I think that we can be hopeful that the spread of HIV/AIDS can be stopped. Our focus today is on the severity of HIV/AIDS as a global pandemic. This disease is a problem at the global level, and people need to work together internationally to combat it. Let us get started, shall we? AIDS is a global pandemic. Statistics published by Severity, an international HIV/AIDS charity, reveal that 33 million people are victims of AIDS. The number of newly infected people per year is approximately 2 million. Over 16 million children are orphaned because their parents have died from AIDS. The number of children with AIDS is 2 million. HIV/AIDS affects the whole world. It is not specific to a particular part of the world. However, in some parts of the world, the disease has spread more quickly. Africa is suffering terribly from this disease. HIV/AIDS patients are at high risk of infection. They are more likely to contract infections like tuberculosis, malaria, typhoid, and hepatitis. HIV/AIDS must be stopped. It is an international responsibility to fight against the disease. Poorer countries get international assistance in the fight against HIV/AIDS. People need access to medicine and medical services. Education programs need to be put in place to help people to learn how to protect themselves. There are a number of organizations around the world that are working to support AIDS victims. Students, do you know what services are provided by these organizations? Write a list of the ones you are aware of.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up! Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back. The UN and other organizations are doing many things to support AIDS victims in the world. Let us look at what the United Nations is doing to help. In countries like Botswana, the UN is providing free antiretroviral treatment. It also provides dietary information and supplements to people with HIV/AIDS. This has increased the life expectancy of HIV/AIDS victims. AIDS patients are at high risk of malaria. The UN has supplied bed nets treated with insecticide to help people protect themselves against disease-spreading insects. The Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS assists countries with technical support. This helps countries to implement their AIDS prevention plans. As well, the UN Children's Fund and the World Health Organization are helping countries to create programs that will prevent mother-to-child transmission. These programs include training and support. The UN also supports people living with HIV/AIDS. This support comes from the UN Development Program. People receive home visits, meals, and assistance. The Ministry of Education in countries around the world is working with the UN to establish a curriculum that teaches students about the disease. Students are taught how to prevent HIV/AIDS. These are all examples of work that the UN is doing to help HIV/AIDS victims around the world. The UN is a good example of international intervention. Of course, more needs to be done. Everyone is responsible for fighting this disease. Students, take a moment to write down 2 things that you can do to combat HIV/AIDS. Share your ideas with the person sitting next to you.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up! Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, teacher. Welcome back, students. Even though a great deal is being done to provide assistance for people in fighting this disease, there is more to be done. One important kind of support is to improve the living conditions of people with AIDS. If people are living in poor conditions, they are more likely to become infected with tuberculosis or hepatitis. There is a lot that we can do as individuals to combat the disease. The international community needs to increase its support. Internationally, people can donate money to fund the UN and other programs. In this lesson, we have talked about the severity of HIV/AIDS as a global pandemic. It might be possible for anyone in the world to become infected with HIV/AIDS. AIDS has caused enormous suffering in the world and in Africa. It is an international responsibility to fight this disease. It is also important for international programs to support people living with AIDS. This has been a very important lesson. Until next time, thank you, teacher. Thank you, students.